We're live, folks, back again. This is your host of Lit Literature, JP, aka The Demon, and this is our part 2 of Mistborn. Same crew, because same day. Not for you, but for us, for sure. And just a few notes. So, in the last episode, we did actually start with the whole Mistborn book before we get into our intros. But we did start with the whole Mistborn book, and we started to talk about the ending first. Like any, unless we're doing part-by-part reading, like we do with Stormlight,
the
larger books, it's important for you guys to know that you should probably have read the whole book before you join us for this conversation, at least with the smaller books. We'll let you know in the title if we are doing it differently. It's chapter by chapter, part by part, or something along those lines. So for those of you joining us for part 2, before we get on to book 3,
and we just wanted to make sure to let you know that, since we definitely did not talk about the entire ending in part 1.
And give away a lot of big spoilers. Mystery. It's coming out.
Yep. So anyway, just so you know. Anyway, round table.
Brett, the director.
Josh, the cherry.
The cherry Josh.
Well, okay, we're good.
Ben the Hitman.
So we left last episode, and I had brought up Marsh. Mm-hmm. And I do want to talk a lot about Marsh.
Yes.
Because Marsh, in my opinion, being Kelsier's older brother, Unique was the head of the rebellion for some time before he quit, knowing how, I don't know, they weren't making any ground, I guess, and some other things.
Did he quit the same time that, like, Kelsier got caught, maybe?
That's what I thought.
That's what I got the impression. I don't remember if they actually said. Like, and we think that there is some, maybe not, like, maybe a little bit of love or jealousy between...
No, there is definitely.
Yeah.
He clearly liked Kelsier's wife.
What's her name?
I forgot her name.
Starts with an M.
Mare. That's it.
Yeah.
And real quick, do you think Mare betrayed Kelsier?
No.
I think Finn was right.
Yeah.
Oh, and he felt it through the Kappa cloud.
I'm honestly a little bit more surprised that it wasn't an immediate visceral reaction that, like, vindicated. Because he still was like, maybe you're right. And I was like, you're damn right. I'm almost positive she's right? Like,
I think
that's
probably he's lived with it for so long and has probably come to grips with it, and the fact that he'll still love her no matter what, that he probably just, like, it was hard to let go the idea.
He was a lot more grounded in the rules as he understood them.
Exactly.
And he's like, it's not true. Like, I want to believe it.
Yeah.
And then, he died.
My first thought was, and I thought that they would have immediately, after the second time they went and there were people there, my first thought was, why didn't they just believe that they always have them there?
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that there would be 2 there 24/7. And I'm surprised that they never were like, thought that's the possibility. They're like, oh, they just heard us coming. And it's like, well, why didn't you assume that they heard you coming last time? Or like, what's so unexpected about them being stationed there?
The reality is that I think it's more common knowledge. They know that it's actually, I mean, they don't know how they make
The Inquisitors?
But they know there's not really that many. There's really not that many.
Like they said in the city, there's 8 or something.
Yeah, there's like
there was 9.
But you can't have, if you only have 8 Inquisitors, you're probably not going to have 2 of them at all times at this.
They could be sleeping there. That could be their house, for all you know. You're trying to get in there. They spend, all you know is that the Lord Ruler spends 3 hours a day.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah.
It's true.
But I'm just surprised that wasn't ever, I guess the main reason is because the Lord Ruler looked and said, thank you for doing this to her. But like, you could just as easily assume like that's a ploy to make them turn against each other. So then when they question him,
or he's just like, thank you for being a dummy and bringing him.
Exactly.
He thought he was protected.
Yeah, and it was just like I was still very surprised with how like they were like, oh, the betrayal. Like it seemed like it was so rock solid in all their viewpoints that like, okay, there was a betrayal, and we're 90% sure that the person who it was Mare. But you're just like, I almost was like the whole time I'm like, I still feel like there's more.
It could have also been a little bit of bravado, like, oh, the only way my plan could have been like
and now have gone well,
ruined and not gone well is because somebody betrayed us.
Yeah,
Like, I had this thought out so perfectly.
Yeah,
possible.
But then once you kind of start to get that glimmer from like Vin, that she's like, oh, he can sense, or maybe they can sense too, even through Copper Cloud. You're just like, oh, like that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Like, but they kind of like were even a bit hesitant. But I like your kind of idea that it's probably just like it's been something he's had to accept for so long to kind of reverse that acceptance.
Yeah.
Well, and he even had a good conversation with Vin about it.
Well, it's like at the very end, because it was after the initial, like when she proved that she could sense through the Copper Cloud. Even then, he was like, maybe, and he's like, I have to think about it. It wasn't just that it's like, oh my gosh, like everything's like better now. I'm so much happier. Like it was like later, it was like a day or two later, where he's like, you know what, I've been thinking about it, and I think you might be right. And I was like, why did it take that long? I would have immediately.
No. But even so, because he loved her anyway, and he knew that, and he came to terms with it, whether she betrayed him or not.
He still loved her.
Because he said, remember, even on her deathbed, she was like, I did not betray you. And he knew that. And in the end, for him, it was a moot point. He just decided it was better that I loved her than not. And it didn't matter. So, like, the reality is that she didn't. Or maybe didn't. But
I think it's pretty evident.
Probably didn't.
But the other thing is, for him, it didn't matter, and so that was another insight into his personality there. But to me, though, if you're sent to the mines and she's there, they're pretty much going to die. It almost takes out the point of even lying about it at some point there. I mean, they're all going to go.
Well, and the fact that she gave up her life, she let herself die so he would keep living. She gave her geode to him.
Yeah.
And that's what broke him, which is a good thing overall. But like because he had to watch her die. Because when she's like, I have two from last week, and it's like actually she didn't.
Yeah. And so that kind of I mean that's. I think I'm with you guys. I think she obviously didn't betray him. It was clear. It's pretty like clear cut in that sense. But to him, it was amazing in that conversation how it didn't necessarily matter. He had already kind of accepted where he is with it. So
it's like if you just climbed Mount Everest and you're at the top and you're just like, wow, what did I just go through? And then somebody's like, dude, there's a fucking elevator right over there. You're like, no, there isn't. There's no way.
I'm not going to go over
I did not go through all of that struggle and growth for nothing.
And you know what? It did shape him in some form or fashion. And to be honest, if not that experience, his whole plan, whether we like to admit or not, was to die.
Yeah.
Now, his brother didn't know this. Now, how many of you guys thought the flayed man was the brother?
I did.
I thought so too. And the second time I almost didn't. I'm like, wait a second, I know the outcome. And they just did it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timing with the whole note with all of the Susan stations.
Yeah.
Like, they found out that he betrayed them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was his punishment.
So what do you think? I mean, like, I feel bad for that guy in a way. Like,
There was
he
multiple
went
people
through
who
the
died for
process.
that.
Yeah, he said it's a bloody, multiple people involved process. Like that guy, I'm wondering if it's because when he says multiple people, I'm wondering if like they said that there is how many was it? 9? There are 9 spikes. 11 spikes.
11 spikes.
You think what are the known elements? What if each spike is somehow derived from a mistling?
Like
they kill the mistling, and then they force it into a like somehow their power into a piece of stone, and then they impale that into them to give them that ability.
I honestly cannot fucking remember for the life of me. I only know that the spikes is like another power.
Yeah,
That's an interesting theory, but there should be at least 12.
you would think, but maybe the Lord Emperor, the Lord Ruler, doesn't want
them.
that to have that last power or whatever that other.
If that was, that last power would be immortality or the...
Or something like that.
Atheum,
Yeah, the alloy of Atium.
yeah.
And even then, it's like you don't want, like, who the heck... That's another thing, too, is like, you really can only test if you have it by burning the metal. And if Atium is so well controlled and he's hidden possibly any evidence of this other alloy where it's not even made anywhere, how would anyone even know if they have that ability? Because they can't get it in their system to burn it to tell. Right? So, it's one of the things, too, that... I found, and maybe I don't want to nitpick too much, but I'm wondering, like, if there's a breaking point, do they always just end up trying to use residual like metals, or do they like when someone breaks, do they use it without metals, or is it like? Is it almost accepted that everyone has at least a little bit of these residual metals in them to burn to be able to prove that they have that power for the first time?
We all have a little residual heavy metals in our system at all times, and more or less depending on the water or this or that. And remember, even Cosmere says one of the reasons the capital is built where it's built is because there's traces of heavy metal.
But
there's
what do you
traces
mean?
of heavy metal in
Because,
all of the water and stuff like that.
When Kelsia gave Vin that vial the first time, they had all the elements in it. Well, all 8, the normal ones. And if she couldn't tell the difference between the power wells, if there's only one well of power, then she would have been a misting. But she could distinguish like the different powers.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, for all the people who break for the first time, the first time they break, like, it's not like someone like feeds them a vial of metals before they break.
I don't think you can use it unless you have it in you, and that's why Vin, for a long time, was just using it like, I've got a tiny bit of this luck,
like built up. I built my luck up.
I built my luck up.
But yeah, like, so that's the other thing is like ATM mistings probably exist, but it's not. How would they, even if they broke, like Ellen, if he'd had the ability, he would have shown it then.
No, you're right.
But what if he didn't ever have an ATM in his system to be able to burn? So he could be an ATM misting, right?
I think there are mistings that don't know they're mistings
because they didn't have the metal enough metal in their system.
The common metals are easier because you can't really. We got iron in our meat. We have we have iron in the water. You get certain things where you could access these metals, but ATM you can only access from the mine, right?
Yeah.
So I think there absolutely are
going to be a ton of mistings out there that just you never knew because they didn't actually ever get that. And couldn't that might be one of the most powerful frickin' mistings if you had ATM, because literally being able to see, like, it doesn't matter if this guy's super strong, if you could see where they're going. Same thing if they're going to shoot coins at you, it doesn't matter that they're a lurker.
The only
or a
problem
pusher.
is it burns really fast. And
That is
rare.
true. Super expensive, super rare, and burns.
Oh, you'd be dry quick.
Yeah. Like they're leaving Vin just like a piece is like, okay, I got a minute or like 30 seconds of this. That's crazy.
But either way, I think it's interesting because I can't get the inquisitors out of my head. And Marsh having to go through that process as part of his ploy is absurd to me. Secondly, you got stakes through your head forever, through your eyes.
And they're like, we don't know how.
Yeah, I know.
And I love when you finally start to get a little bit of kind of their point of view, and it's like all they see, they don't have eyes anymore, so all they see is through their pull ability. Through the push and pull is they see the blue lines, and that's how they. But they're so powerful that they're blue lines. They can even sense the trace metals in people, and even I love the Lord Ruler when he was like expelled the push. It was affecting the glass. That really you wouldn't think has any metal, but they're just trace metals are like kind of shivering across the ground. Yeah, like it's really cool.
Who knows though? Like to them, it seems weird to us, but to them it might be even like better than eyesight.
It could. I mean, in a way it is because they can see more.
Yeah.
But they could also see less.
But that would be a thing too. Is like how hard. It's like an entirely different vision, but I bet you that's something that maybe will come up in later books that we start to find, like, hey, now that we know this is how they see. Because you would think, like, the lines is dependent on how strong the metals are. So how would you define, like, shape that much besides, like, you could have this really big line, but it's maybe from a pure metal.
This is one of the coolest things.
Door.
I think that Mistborn is going to be one of the first Sanderson films made.
You think so?
And I think the person who gets behind that is going to have the creative, like he's going to be the first one to set up like how they see that. You have the Terminator's view, you have the Predator's view with the heat and all that. That's all easy stuff. They're going to have to think about how lines and shapes work and how you see. And I think, lines are really just a lot of dots.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see strong line. You're still going to get shape, and you're going to have a really unique view. And whoever can make that visually is going to...
It's going to be interesting. Because the other thing, too, is it's like the size of it not only is how like the type of metal and how strong the metal is, but it's how close it is. Because
Yep.
as she gets further away, the line slowly like gets smaller and
Yep.
thinner. So it's like for them, like when you're looking at distance, is it all just based on the size of the line? But then also, how do you tell?
The way that I
Yeah.
kind of like would think it would work is it's like, you know, like Cypher looking at the Matrix code. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't even see the code anymore. I just see blonde, brunette, redhead.
Yeah.
Like, I think it just starts to be
They're-
a world to
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
these lines, like, it's indistinguishable from normal sight. You're just seeing different
Yeah,
things.
but-
You know,
yeah.
I bet they know exactly where everything
But-
is. They see a 3D world.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
they see it differently.
It's
you
interesting
know?
what Sash brought up that you only can see a distance, like you only can feel metal from 100 yards away, maybe.
Yeah.
So like when we're out on the field, we can see for miles.
Yeah.
So they only see like 100 yards and it just stops.
Interesting.
Or like maybe they're stronger. So
Or
they see
depending on their
200
power.
yards,
Yeah.
And it's like in a cone in front of them, and that's all they see.
They
But
may,
even then-
they may even be able to sense like
A
just
360.
everything.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a
Full
that's-
view. Yeah.
I was thinking of from Naruto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Behind
because when
them,
they do
yeah.
that, they only can see in a radius like 100 yards or something.
Right.
And they see everything in that, but outside that, they
Yeah.
So crazy.
That'd
so,
be interesting though, because then you'd have an easy way to counter them.
So do you guys think that
And you think
Mar-
somebody would figure that out if they could only see a certain distance.
I know.
But
do you
anyway,
guys,
sorry,
do you
go ahead.
guys think that Marsh like said, "I'll do this for the sacrifice," or do you think it was one of those things where he was kind of like, "Oh,
He got
fuck.
caught up in the momentum.
Yeah, like literally, he was like, "Oh, I'm infiltrating, and here we go."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they were like, "You're gonna be the next another inquisitor," and he's kind of like, "Oh."
Well, the thing
fuck.
is, if he said no, I don't
They'd
think
kill him.
I
Yeah,
think they would
probably.
have killed him.
Yeah, I almost
It
guarantee
just
that.
sucks so bad.
But also, like, that's like becoming a full Mistborn. And
Yeah.
I think he would have jumped at the chance.
Yeah,
like,
getting that
I
power.
don't know, man.
And
Well-
because once he gets that power, and then he's like, I can actually fight the ministry like head on now.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely cared enough to do it and make that sacrifice. But that
The thing is though is that I'm not exactly sure exactly what type of person he is. He obviously seems to care about the ska
Rebellion.
and the rebellion and all that stuff, but because other people are making sacrifices that they don't have the choice to make, right? They're basically sacrificing 8 other people to create the Inquisitors,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't know
well,
if he
or
would
maybe
know.
maybe 10.
Yeah.
but who knows if he
Depending
would
on-
be okay with that? Is he the type of person that thinks, oh, the means justify the ends?
The thing is, though,
or is he the type of person
people-
that got caught up in it and
they
it's like, well, I
sacrificed-
can't fight
Well,
it?
nobles probably.
That he
that's
doesn't like.
And
Yeah.
he would have been like, kill 8 nobles, make me a Mistborn.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
but he actually.
But would
you know
he
what?
be
though?
like
you know,
that?
you know, he was when he came to Cosmere in the beginning, and he was like, "How do you feel about killing these people?" And he was pretty pissed about it. And then he was like, "You know, some of those guards are."
Are
But you're right.
Scott.
Maybe if they were nobles, he would be like, "Well, whatever."
But that's kind of what makes me think that he got caught up in it, that it wasn't
Yeah.
part of the plan. You
I
know?
feel that way a little bit. He was pretty moral about
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
he
yeah.
was kind of like,
Wasn't
"How do you
part
feel
of
about
that.
killing
Yeah.
those people? They're still people, Kelsier." And he
Right.
was reading the Ska, or reading.
The
Right.
Ska
He was
Rebellion.
leading the Ska Rebellion.
But he also kind of had a falling out with the Sky Rebellion because he was like part of the reason he didn't want to join the beginning because he's like, it doesn't matter what we do, people just die and we're not making any impact.
He did definitely have.
He had a
that
fell out
insight.
where he's just like, what's it matter? Why am I sending people in these underground to go do these infiltration missions that literally end up being like a buzzing fly around the ministry and
That's
does
a
nothing and
dangerous
people are
mindset as a
dying.
leader to be in, though.
It is, and that's probably why he renounced it.
Maybe
He
he
left.
did, yeah.
And that's when Yaden come up, who we know how well,
Well,
of a
the-
leader
he
he
is
is.
not that awesome.
The sad thing is that it's potentially a dangerous mindset, but it's also potentially
A good one.
a good one.
Because
you
he
know?
realized it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you know,
Well,
They had to
that's-
make the
that's what's
sacrifices
so-
when necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
One
what?
thing-
That's what's so hard about these things is it's like almost every single point of view has its place.
Yeah.
It's just, is this the right place to put it?
Exactly.
You know, is this the situation for that or is it not? Is this a time for diplomacy or revolution? Is this a time for this or that? They're both correct. It's just where in the timeline are we? Where in the situation
One
are we?
thing that I think is really interesting and potential is this. I bet you they don't even give them an option. Because you think there's a big rift between the Ministry and the Inquisitors. They don't like each other. So you don't think that the Inquisitor, the Ministry people, the Obligators would be like, yeah, I want to become an Inquisitor. So I bet you what happens is the Inquisitors literally just ambush them and like, all right, you're becoming an Inquisitor. And then they get the power and they're like, okay, I'm glad to be here. But they don't, those two groups don't like each other.
But like the one group, the
leadership
is more powerful. Obviously,
the Ministry is. Yeah.
No, the Inquisitors.
Well,
the
strength-wise,
Inquisitors,
but the Ministry, the Obligators,
they run everything and they have that power.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in the Ministry are corrupt and they just do these things to gain power. And they see this as another way to gain power.
But that too, though, is a thing that the Inquisitors had been, for apparently a long time, trying to incite this corruption within the Obligators so they could present to their ruler and say, we should be the one leading.
Clear power struggle, and another example of why having a balance of power between defendants in your group is so critical.
Yeah.
So critical.
It's so important because the thing is, though, is that like what a lot of people don't understand is that most people are good. Even people that do bad things, a lot of them are good. They just may have a wrong point of view. But there is like truly evil people out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people that are just born differently with a different mindset, a different way to look at things, complete lack of empathy, and they will always try and go where the power is. So like if you put too much power in a good thing, it will inevitably be corrupt because bad is always going to be attracted to where the most power is, you know? And that's why you always have to have a balance because no matter how good this thing is doing, you always have to have it balanced out. And those people were trying to shift the balance in their favor, and they're trying to, you know, and they ended up doing it. That's why you always got to be careful. It's like,
and it's really interesting because it was almost like the Lord Ruler was exasperated.
He's just like, why do I have to deal with this?
Are you going to leave me alone now? I don't want to hear it anymore.
It was a little weird to at that one point to hear like a 1,000-year-old being just be like, oh, they are corrupt. It's like, well, didn't you think that was a possibility? Was that did that not enter your mind? You don't seem like the type of person to be like, no, my inner circle can't be corrupt. I feel like he'd be the type of person to be like,
I think
they're all trying to get me.
If they were his inner circle where he puts 11 stakes through them, including several through their eyes and one through their spine, they've done enough for me. Maybe that's what he was thinking.
But I think what Brett said, I think he does think that way.
Yeah.
That he doesn't even say like, I don't make mistakes.
Right.
I'm just changing my mind now.
It was never a mistake to do that before. I'm just now up for a change.
Yeah.
Like, after 1,000 years of being God, he's like, I'm just not wrong. These people would never betray me because I'm the God.
Right.
Like,
True.
I think he was thinking that way.
Yeah. You know, you actually are right. You guys both are, because he that takes all the credit. Assassin. But no, I think you are, because he was so fucking arrogant.
Yeah.
And even when in the journals, when you're reading about him from the other guy's perspective,
he wasn't like that.
No, he was an arrogant asshole anyway.
No, in the
Rashik was
in Rashik. I thought you meant the actual hero of Legends was constantly questioning.
Legends was constantly like, this guy is a giant asshole who's looking at me like everything I do is wrong.
Yeah. He's just jealous that he doesn't.
Yeah, certainty is one of the most dangerous things in the world.
It can definitely be.
And that guy was quite certain.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, I'm really curious about this one. So Marsh, obviously we haven't even talked about like Breeze and Ham, and we did talk about Clubs and Spook, but and I think Ham is cool. He's kind of weird with his whole philosophical binges.
I like that about him, being a thug, a pure thug that is like has this like philosophical side, constantly wanting to kind of be like, but he's like bringing up all these like, what about this? Is it right? Is like,
is the Lord evil?
Yeah, and he defines morality.
Yeah.
Like, how can he be wrong?
Yeah.
Isn't if he is the
Silver of God?
Yeah, a silver of God. Like then sliver of immortality. Like, and that's part of God. Isn't he the definition of morality?
So
like
now,
whatever he decides.
Let's
right.
think about that for a second in the context of Stormlight. How do you guys feel about the whole sliver of God thing as you're thinking about
the Stormlight
Archive?
Stormlight.
Yeah. Dalinar.
Is there a way we can talk about this without giving away too many spoilers
That's
for
what
that
I'm,
book series?
I'm wondering. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe we leave that out and try and
Leave it out?
I think.
Maybe
I
go
think
to
just
a revisit of Stormlight. We can
Yeah,
do that.
let's try and cover this when we do the revisit before
Great
the
idea.
next book.
Advertising for the revisit
Yeah.
for the next book.
No,
do
we
that.
have to do it. We talked about it again.
Yeah, we do.
yeah.
All right, we'll leave that at bay. But I think it's interesting because of Sanderson. Anyone who reads Sanderson kind of knows about his universe.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, at a minimum, you'll
Cosmere.
get the Cosmere. You'll get a feel that this book, obviously being one of the first books that he published, still plays a giant part in the bigger Cosmere. As a matter of fact, we met somebody named Hoyd.
I was very.
I love him.
Not upset, but I was very he didn't provide that much that changed the story.
Maybe not yet.
Oh, I don't know about that. I was thinking about even in this story, I'm like,
I didn't think it was that because all it was
I forget what he even provided.
All he did, so it was not Kaladin. It was Kelsier went to him. He was the informant.
That's right.
The ska street urchin, and all he pretty much did was confirm with Kelsier that all their plans,
Renew
has been buying up all the weapons, and that he's trying to weaken this house by saying this, and that's ending up gonna get more people to buy his weapons. And he was just confirmed, so our plans are kind of working. And I don't think he did provide one thing at the very end where he was like, oh, the Vinet is actually what did he say? Vinet is
being protected.
Yeah, being protected by or there's an alliance between Renault and the House Venture, and it's Vinet is involved in that, and this is
I have a theory.
He
about
has
this.
something against him, but that didn't change anything.
I actually think it changed everything. I'll tell you why. I have a theory that Hoyd was there specifically to tell Kelsier that, so that he got an inkling about the real relationship between Vin and Elend. And that actually was one of the things that got him investigating Elend further, even more than he was, and that led to him deciding to save Elend. Because
true.
Hoyd is he's like, I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
I have to be here though. And I just gotta do this shit.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He doesn't even know what he does, but he knows, I know
something.
right here. I just gotta be standing here.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of does what he does.
Dude, how frustrating would that be?
It's man, I just want to eat breakfast. But
I know.
Frickin' over there.
But
pancakes are getting cold, but I need to be here.
You should just obviously watch Quantum Leap. He's they'll have a whole series about that.
but anyway, the entire thing is I thought about it because I'm like, okay, Hoyt's here, and what is he saying? Well, he's talking about acts that Vin did, but he's telling him differently.
Yeah.
Kind of like he's telling it how maybe a noble would have perceived it happen from the actual event. But remember, we got what Vin did.
Yeah.
We actually heard her say, oh, he's my older brother, and this and that, and it was just so, off the cusp or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it might have been the things that Kelsier needed to hear. Number one, how the nobles were perceiving that, and number two, how to interpret that would get him to go, investigate a little deeper or think a little bit differently about it. And it ended up maybe saving Ellen's life.
So slight spoiler for Endgame if you haven't seen it, Avengers Endgame. So it to me
Spoiler.
To me, Hoyd sometimes almost feels like the Doctor Strange at the end of Endgame, where it's there's a million outcomes, but only one we win, and it's he's just kind of there to just kind of nudge it.
That
be slowly nudging things
I
into the right direction. But unlike Doctor Strange, he doesn't know where that direction is.
Dude, he doesn't
He's
at all.
being used by someone that maybe does or whatever.
I kept expecting him to come up again, and I'm wondering if we'll see him. Because I can't remember, and this is the first time going to the Cosmere because I think it was the first book I ever read in the Cosmere, in Mistborn, so I didn't even know about that it exists. So I'm very curious.
Book written in the Cosmere, or is Elantris also
Elantris is
Cosmere?
part of the
It is
Cosmere.
Oh,
Cosmere?
okay.
Yeah.
But I haven't read Elantris, so this was the first one I had read.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know the Cosmere existed. So I'm very curious. I don't know if he shows up anywhere else in the rest of the book. So
Well,
I'm very
Sanderson has
curious.
said that when he's getting towards the cusp of this like story being told behind all of his stories,
He'll bring it together.
there will be. He
Hood's
actually
gonna be a
said
major
many
player.
times he started writing the book,
Oh.
and he's like,
From
"No,
the
I
point of
can't-
view of these characters in the
No,
background.
he's like, I can't do it yet, or it's not right yet, or whatever
Yeah.
he said. So, like, will he ever write it? No, but there is a whole nother story going on in the background.
That'll be cool. I can't wait
And-
for that.
Hoyt is part of that, and it
Oh,
is-
definitely. Who else? Like the guy with the sword.
He also said that Hoyd.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There is
That
crossover. There is crossover. This one. There is crossover. It's amazing.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, Shin. I mean, not Shin, but
Would you like to destroy some evil today?
yeah. Let's kill them.
They're evil, right?
But
That
no,
group of people, they're
actually, those guys
They
still
look to be
aren't part
wrong.
of that bigger story.
Yeah.
They're just like part of being lucky enough to cross over at these universes, tying the universes together, similar to how Season King used Father Callahan.
Seasoned king. That king is just seasoned perfectly. Wow.
But exactly, but similar to how he's using that. But
Yeah.
Hoyd is
Yeah.
actually part of that. He's something different, and we don't even know exactly what he is. We do know from his own mouth that he is frustrated by the fact that he doesn't quite know
What's
what the
going on.
fuck
But
he's doing.
but he's also been alive like ages. Like he's like super.
Well,
old,
if you think
right?
about somebody who could jump through worlds and time,
Yeah.
maybe he's not actually been alive that long. Maybe to him, it's like, my next appointment is in an hour.
100
So
years
I guess
ago.
I'm going to go have some coffee, and then I'll show up in this other world,
Yeah.
and I'll be there.
Yeah.
And like for him,
Be
he
young.
might actually be young.
Yeah.
I hope they get to explain that a little bit later with how these people are traversing
Yeah.
the worlds, because like we get a little bit somehow we know that the entire human population in the Stormlight archive. Well, we don't want to get too much into that, but
Yeah.
there are ways and people,
Yeah.
groups of people have done it. But
I think we'll learn
curious
more
to
throughout the
how that
Stormlight,
goes.
because I think Stormlight is kind of the introduction to the
the
universe
whole of
in
it.
some ways. And the basis of the story has to do with some crossover.
Stormlight seems like it's the meat of the meal.
I think
to
so.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's supposed to be like 9 books
Is epic.
that are that
12.
thick, you know, or 12 books that
And
are that
that's
thick.
now. They
you know?
always expand that.
Yeah.
If he's got 12 in his mind, that thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Book
Because-
12 is going to have to be
Yeah.
brought to us on a forklift.
Yeah. Because in Stormlight, they talk about the gods and how they split up, and some of them went to different universes.
Yeah.
And that's how Warbreaker has the.
Well, I think this will be cool too if we shouldn't get too far off topic, but it'd be sweet when they start to be like, he's got this power from Warbreaker, this power from this world, and this
Yeah.
power from this world. But all of a sudden you got someone who's just like multi.
But we know
like-
for fact it actually doesn't exist that way depending on where the shards are.
Yeah.
Because we have character from Warbreaker in Stormlight, and he can't use power similarly. So it does actually depend, like where you are. We do know that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's get back to Mistborn real quick. So we know that this is clearly one of the core universes of the Cosmere, and we have been given these amazing magic systems, which we haven't seen crossover, actually. I think, secretly, Stormlight and Mistborn are like 2 core tenets of universes. Not that there's not more, but for some reason I feel like the fact that Sanderson's doing a trilogy, and another trilogy while writing the Stormlight tells me that like it's another
important
core
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have 9 main books out, plus the side books for Mistborn.
At least, yeah. Well, actually,
But we also got to keep in mind that Mistborn, a full trilogy is like 1 book of Stormlight.
it's true.
You know?
This is true.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big the second trilogy is compared to the first trilogy.
Yeah.
That guy's a machine. I don't know how he.
I know,
puts
he's
so many
unreal.
books out. I mean, look at the difference between the Stormlight books
And
versus
versus
Mistborn.
I just like imagine him at home, you know.
that's
Honey?
so nuts.
Honey, are you coming to bed? I'm writing!
That is insane.
But also, this isn't a big format.
Yeah, that's true. But still, like
It's about it's almost 3.
What's the
times
text
as big.
size? Though?
Yeah.
Let's look at the text size.
that's gonna be.
Look how little it is. It's smaller.
wow.
It's smaller in the big book.
It's unreal.
So not only are the pages bigger and it's thicker, but the text size from the paperback version of Mistborn, this text is actually smaller.
Jeez.
That's absurd.
It's like a dictionary.
So, yeah. The amount of words that guy could put out.
I know, it's
Unbelievable.
unreal.
Okay, so
Back to Mistborn.
His wife's just sitting there. I
Yeah.
need a hobby.
It's like, why
Are we
always
going to do
reading
something
books?
this weekend? I'm writing!
I heard,
Put that book down and pay attention to me.
by the way,
Winners.
in interviews, he said that he doesn't actually write more. He says that he's just extraordinarily
meticulous.
consistent.
Yeah.
He's very meticulous with his writing time.
Yeah.
So he never
strict with it. Yeah.
he's very that's what he says at least.
Consistency is key, man.
Yeah. Although I have seen tweets where he's like at a unique times, like, ooh, I'm getting close. So maybe when he gets in the flow, like
Yeah.
a deep flow
He
of
starts
like
to get-
the end,
yeah.
he starts to just really dive into it. But back to Mistborn. So we talked about Marsh. I think Breeze is kind of a unique character, and I'm excited to see Breeze like kind of, I don't know, he's like, I like wine and this and that, and oh, by the way, but then he's like a genius with how he's
his Mistling's ability is
he
pushing
could like
or
he
soothing.
knows how you're feeling at anybody, how they're feeling at any
And
point
he's
in
good,
time.
but even Marsh says that the Suzas in the stations are better than him.
That's what he says, but I don't know that I believe it.
I believe it.
Yeah,
Because Marsh
I don't
is
know that.
very meticulous in what he says.
But
He's
he
very
also, though,
analytical.
is maybe not necessarily better because all they do is one type and it's so easy and they just do it all day, every day. So it's just like, I think maybe Breeze is probably, in terms of effectiveness, has a greater range, greater subtlety and ability, whereas these guys have one perfect thing that they can do. They can literally just like tramp down any extreme emotions in a huge area, probably more than Breeze can. But in terms of like soothing, Breeze can like pick out certain people, do like mass people with like better emotion.
But I love
control.
how he described it, because he said like if you're a soother or a rioter, it doesn't really matter.
They
because
do the same
all
thing.
his Breeze does is you could do the same thing, because what he does is he says like, if I want you to be more curious, I'm soothing other things.
Yeah.
So that your curiosity is rising to the
Rises,
top.
yeah.
Whereas if you're a rioter, you pick the one thing and it's easier. I pick curiosity, I'm gonna make it like sky. But with Breeze, he's like, soothe this, soothe that, move this, move that, little here, little there, like just a master chef. And
Yeah.
I think that's like when they were describing that,
The scene
I'm like,
with the waitresses, that
I'm
was
like,
cool.
That guy
send out the red,
has
and he's like,
abilities.
yes, now you feel this, and he's like,
Yeah.
but we need a little green.
But
we need to
remember,
get this.
he's a soother, so he's not making you feel this. He's actually calming everything else.
Yeah,
So
but he
the way
also has
he's
the people in the crowd that are like doing it, but he's like masterfully like kind of like orchestrating the
But
emotions.
all the other Suzas are doing.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
too.
it's just like the difference between like, you know, a butcher that can section off, you know, 1,000 pounds of meat an hour compared to like a surgeon that goes in and
like-
you know, it's not
That's how
necessarily.
I feel. Yeah, I feel like
They're
those
different.
guys that they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're like the butcher.
Yeah.
They just hack off thousands.
Yeah.
But
And they may be very
Breeze is
powerful,
like-
but they're not skilled.
yeah.
maybe,
Breeze
as,
is
you know.
like
It's a
man,
different
I
skill.
feel
A different
like
skill,
he
yeah.
is just he'll. Oh man, I'm like, I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm wondering though. That's a good question for the next book. Is how much are we gonna see? Because it's like we're now reaching. I mean, the books with the end of the book. I'm almost like, man, this could, if without maybe like 3 sentences in the frickin' book, this could have been like a standalone, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
wow, this is a good book. But it's like, even at this point, it's like, what they're probably all going to take on parts of like leading the country, but like, where do we go from here?
Well, that's why I
I'm
think the
guessing
ending
that
was-
the deepness is gonna come back.
That is,
And then
yep.
Vin's you have to go to the Well of Ascension.
Oh, really?
And she's gonna become the new hero
What's
of
the
ages.
What's the next name of the book?
Well of Ascension.
Wow, that was a leap, Ben. That's a good leap.
Yeah.
By the way,
Literally,
secondly,
the pattern.
the epilogue is also like the last journal entry where he's like, even if I fail, like
I feel like,
somebody will come at some point. So, but the same thing, like as clear as that seems cut. This is Sanderson,
Yeah.
and so I think we're gonna get a lot of curves.
But,
that's my opinion.
Before we move on from V's, I just want to talk about his philosophy and how I feel he's totally wrong and how he treats people.
Oh!
I do. Let's talk about it.
Because he's like, oh, I'm not making them do that. I'm like, you are. Like, he's using the other emotions to get the response he wants.
But how different is that from the person coming up and be like, okay, Ben, calm down. Let's talk this through.
Yeah,
How
that's when you
is
say
that
calm
different
down
from
someone.
me peer pressuring you until you do what I want you to do?
Yeah, is it that different? Like,
I mean, I think the
Charismatic?
uncomfortable. I think the
Because
uncomfortable.
you don't know what's
thi-
doing it. I just be sitting here and then choosing all your emotions and making you feel angry, and you don't even know that's happening.
I think the uncomfortable thing that a lot of people don't realize is that almost all human interaction is that.
well, it's a manipulation, but
It's a manipulation,
is.
although
But
sometimes
there-
people manipulate subconsciously. It's literally a play off of people's things, saying certain things. I mean, how many times do you talk to somebody and instead of saying, you fucking idiot, you do it more calmly?
Yeah.
But that's an indirect way of manipulating their emotions. But it's not manipulation in the sense that, oh my gosh, I'm going to play with this guy's fucking emotions.
But Ben
It's
brings up a good point, though,
I'm
is-
going to interact with this person in a productive way so that we can get to a place that we
Yeah.
want to go.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
communication as open, and the thing is, you realize what's happening, but
But I don't think
I don't
That's what I think.
I don't think a lot of people do realize what's happening when somebody chooses to use a productive way of talking about something as opposed to an unproductive one.
I think
I don't
they
think a
do.
lot of
But
I don't
you
think a
have
lot
the
of people
choice-
sit here and think, "Oh, he wanted to call me a
But the
fucking
thing is
jackass, but he said this instead."
But how you interact with me, I then have the ability of choosing how my emotions change to that. Whereas a soother doesn't give you that choice.
is that
but
true?
You do. Yeah, you do get it because even Vin and other people are like, suddenly they are feeling this like kind of thing, and they're like, wait a
But-
second.
well, it's
you're-
Vin is an
training.
allomancer.
But it takes
Yeah.
training to realize that's happening.
Yeah.
Like, the normal person on the street who's not been trained is not going to notice it.
I think it takes
Unless
training.
it's like a hammer coming down on them, like the Lord rule.
Yeah.
If I knew about these powers being existent in the world, though, I would be a little aware of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
all
but
I'm saying.
no, but someone as good as Breeze doesn't give you the chance to be aware of it.
He's just like, yeah, just a little push you.
Yeah.
She only
Everyone-
pushes you to get him wine.
No, but
So-
everyone even questions, like, did he actually push me to get the wine, or am I just doing it because,
You know,
like,
but
you question it a lot.
is, though. Yeah, I think that people give him a bad rap because of his ability and his skill. But truthfully, he's like, we don't use, like Kelsier said this, we don't do that on our friends. We don't do that. You know, they're doing it to like get the crowd. But even look at this is what's crazy. They're helping the ska people like get this rebellion and stuff. But even look at how they view normal people.
Yeah,
Even
just like
Kelsier.
the masses,
Like
It's just
cattle, the masses,
They're not going to
like
do it on their own. Like you do find out part of that's because of the opposite. Like the Lord Ruler just has these soothers that are out that are keeping everyone down.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so
Yeah,
the,
it's true.
those so if you look at it from that context. Those all the masses, they don't have any way of being like, I'm just going to ignore it. Like their emotions
Yeah.
are being forced down.
Because
to
the
that.
thing
according
is-
to Bree's philosophy, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it does keeping the emotions packed.
Well,
to not-
Bree's
their
philosophy
emotions
is that
would have had
you
anyway,
can
because they
use
would have done it anyways.
Yeah.
But the
They're just
thing is,
helping them along.
but the thing is though is that
Yeah, you're right in his philosophy.
I feel like there's a parallel to be drawn to real life though, where like maybe the soothing specifically works on people that aren't mindful of like what's going on, and that if you're mindful of what's going on, you can resist these influences sometimes. And I feel like in real world you could draw a comparison to that in mainstream media, and how mainstream media can literally get you to feel a way, think a way, do a thing without you even realizing it, because you're not investing the mindfulness to be like, okay,
I mean,
what are these emotions?
That's any media.
I also
not
think that's
necessarily
wrong with
like a
the media.
mainstream.
I think
That's
the
just
news
like a
shouldn't be-
media.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
mainstream
the news.
media. Oh, okay, so media. But I think mainstream
Yeah.
media right now has a very like on both sides have very
Yeah.
clear agendas that I think for most people
Yes.
that are watching are like, oh wow, that seems manipulative. But then there's also a large portion of the masses that just kind of accept it and do it.
Well,
you know
because
what I
it
mean?
falls in with the beliefs. And so
Exactly.
they watch either, Fox or CNN or CBS.
Well, you naturally you're just gonna watch whatever you are more inclined
So,
to.
but-
Right, exactly.
but-
You're already
But
there.
I'm
so-
curious. I'm curious though if the masses in this world were aware of the manipulation, if they would be able to be like, are these emotions real and counteract that soothing, or if it's an automatic thing.
And it's good that you say curious, because that's the one thing that we get from reading. We don't really know the extent yet.
Yeah.
Based on what we've learned so far, we know it definitely impacts. We've seen some of our main characters realize it and redivert it.
Right.
But they could also do things, and also then you get, well, how important would it be then to be a copper?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just put shrouds up everywhere.
Everywhere.
Because everywhere that you're putting shrouds up could potentially help people not feel down,
Right.
in this sense, or
Yeah.
like defeated. It's really interesting, because I think that the questions there, we don't yet have the answer
Right.
to this. But Ben brings up a really cool conversation, because philosophically, there's questions there.
Yeah.
Well, but doesn't copper only suppresses the ability to
Suppresses-
sense it? It for everyone else
because
It
that's why
only-
Vin, if you have it, it won't work on you.
Yeah, but
doesn't-
only for her,
Because then
she
her and
can't keep
Kelsey
other
start
people.
trying
No,
to counteract the soothing of the for their group. Remember, wasn't he doing something like that?
Yeah.
When the
They're still under the copper
leader or
cloud.
whatever.
No,
Yeah.
he was writing the other emotions.
Oh, he was. Okay.
The copper only extends so you can't tell if other people
You
are
can't
using
tell if other people are using it, and it won't affect you. But you can't keep it from affecting you guys.
The
Like if
emotions.
I had a copper cloud,
So
up,
when they
you
were-
guys can still be affected.
So what they were doing
Only me.
at that moment wasn't providing some type of blanket of protection. They were
Yeah.
trying to push against it by raising the emotions that
Yeah.
he was pushing down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can't have a copper person going around nullifying the effects of it, because the actual
It feels
soothing
like it should work that way.
the actual
though, doesn't
soothing
it?
stations had a copper person there that kept anyone from knowing that they're doing it. They're still able to soothe, but no one can tell that they're soothing because the copper cloud.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
because it feels to me like it wouldn't work that way.
You would wish, but the reason
what I thought too,
you
but-
know though is because they say the copper clouds let us practice our abilities without being found. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to practice their abilities.
Yep.
So the copper cloud is literally just a haze that you can't tell that people are using it. Well,
It's interesting that they would assume that would protect, though, against.
but it only
strong-
protects against you.
Yeah.
It protects yourself.
But what I'm saying is they were assuming the copper cloud stops inquisitors from finding you. And in my opinion, I'm like, when I hear that, if I hear that it can't protect, if you got a copper cloud up and I'm assuming that you can't find me because I'm in a copper cloud, I would also assume that somebody else's abilities
Can affect
wouldn't
you
affect
in-
me. And if
Yeah.
they can affect me and I know that, why would I assume that you couldn't find me in that?
No, because the issue is the copper. So the copper cloud is only effective against the mistings, and I forget what it is. The mistings that find the seekers, which is what what's his name, Marsh is. Marsh's misting ability is to be able to sense allomancy vibrations when someone's using it, so he can tell who's using what allomancy.
Yeah.
So the Inquisitors have that ability, so the copper cloud only counteracts that ability of sensing the allomancy vibrations.
Got it. It's only a counter to the one ability.
Yes.
Unless
That
you're the
seems-
person.
Unless you're the person, which is odd, that using a copper on
stops you
yourself
from-
stops other people from affecting you. But it's odd because you can't turn copper on to keep someone from pulling against something in your field of your copper.
Yeah.
It only affects the ability
Internal.
of the internal soothing and rioting.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that one of them is only targeting those two.
So there's definitely questions on this a little bit. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll learn more in the future books.
Yeah, definitely, hopefully.
All right,
Definitely,
guys.
hopefully.
Definitely hopefully.
What else do we got? I'm all out, so I think.
I think probably like final thoughts. So for me, front to end, I loved going through this a second time, especially kind of having granted it's been so long, I had a very vague idea of what was going to happen, but it really, that vague idea let me pick up on a lot of things that I think I missed the first time, and like really question some of the narrative ideas, like why is he pushing me in this direction? But overall, I think the book was great. One of the things is, if you're someone who's intimidated by looking at the Stormlight archive, I think Mistborn is perfect.
intro.
Being this, like, you can finish it. I finished it in 4 days. You could finish this pretty like lazily, go about it in a baby 2 weeks, not even having to read that much. It's a fairly quick read, and it is a great book.
Yeah, certainly smaller. I loved rereading it as well. I forgot a ton, but the thing that's weird is I actually remember more about the later stuff than I do this series, because I read the second trilogy more recently,
Right.
Yeah.
and like I love going back to this one because I'm like, oh.
Adding some context.
But then I'm trying to remember this story, and I'm like, I don't remember. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I'm super pumped that we're gonna go, because I really do think, I think we will. I think as a group kind of decided this already, but we're gonna go through the trilogy. We should definitely do a revisit / short story bridge, and then we could do the 4 books after. They're all short reads, so I think
We can
By
do
the
the
time we
second
finish
4-book
this
trilogy.
series, probably have to do Stormlight.
we will probably be on Stormlight after this. We could be on a haul of Sanderson for a while, which we need. Anyway.
I'm fine with as much Sanderson. I mean, I know he writes quickly and a lot, but I wish he would write quicker and a lot more.
As fast as I know.
Yeah, we still have about probably like 7 years of Stormlight, I'm assuming. At
7?
least
Oh my
20.
god, dude, we've got
Well,
20.
If he could go 1 book a year, it's like 8.
Well,
He
he's
does
right
it every
on
2 years, right?
Yeah, every 2
every other year. So
And
then
he writes another
14
book.
years.
Other books in between.
Dude, to be honest, how you write this book
In-
every other year and still pump out multiple publications,
It's nuts.
we're lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every other writer. This is my life's work.
Yeah.
They will remember me forever for this. Sanderson's got like a stack of them. Like, oh, all right. I'll have more of this tomorrow.
Dude, I don't
part of
know
my
how he
Cosmere.
does it. It's crazy.
I loved when George R.R. Martin like asked Stephen King, like, how do you write so darn much? And then Sanderson's in the background like, news.
Stephen King's another guy. He pumps out
He
a
does,
lot.
yeah.
But the
He
thing
does.
is he's so like the Dark Tower took a long time because he's drawn in all these other directions. The freaky thing about Sanderson is he keeps those book series going and then still goes all the other
he does other
directions.
stuff, yeah.
And it's like, he's like, oh no, I have a specific book that I only write when I'm flying. Skyward.
Yeah.
That whole series.
that series
He's like,
is
I
good.
work on that when I'm flying places.
Yeah. He must fly a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He does. Yeah. He's always tweeting like, oh, by the way, this airport, that airport. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, COVID, it's probably put a dent in our
Yeah.
Skyward
Oh,
publication.
Skyward's gonna be postponed by it.
COVID.
You know what though? He'll find it. He'll probably break that rule.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm sure he's gonna want to keep on the one a year with
I
Skyward.
can tell that he's all in on this right now because watching those tweets was awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's like, ooh, this much left. He's like, I think I only got 1,000, some ridiculous number, like 1,000 pages left. It was like 2 days later. He's
Only?
like, done,
Yeah.
submitted. And I'm like, what?
All right, wait. Final thoughts. We'll keep going.
Yeah,
that was
sorry.
Jeff's.
So I'm just super happy to be. I'm always happy whenever we diverge from Sanderson, even though we read amazing authors. Like Stephen King is a fantastic author.
Brent Weeks.
Brent Weeks is a fantastic author. As a matter of fact, he's probably kind of like my second favorite
there,
now. I
yeah.
loved that
Yeah.
series.
It's awesome.
But Sanderson is just like exactly my style. Like exactly. Even this, which is probably the worst book I've read from him, is still better than almost every other book I've ever read. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Stormlight is in a tier of its
tier.
own,
Yeah.
for Sanderson. But like, it's just, I just love it. I love every page of it.
Well, yeah, it sums up a lot. The one thing I want to add on is I was so happy at the end of the book when Vin decided to not stay in the shadows and like she moved on from a
Yes.
past self and went into the light.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
with Ellen.
I love the.
That was a good
It was a
scene.
bit on the nose, but I
Yeah.
just really liked the last line of like, "All I wanted was to hug you" or something like. I forgot what
Yeah.
exactly.
She
was.
drops the
Yeah.
coin down and
Yeah.
just like, I'm coming down.
Yeah.
She's just like, why are you reading still? Like, yes, I'm
There's a couple scenes in the book. Like one time she was standing in the dark while all the thieves crew were in the light laughing.
Yeah, laughing.
And then later she was like in there too, and she looked out in the dark and like, oh, it's so much nicer in here.
Yeah.
And then she had the choice of staying
Yeah.
in the dark. Like, I don't deserve it. Like, and she does. She does deserve it. Everyone does. And
Yeah.
she made the choice to go in and
I think
be
it's
with him.
I think it's also a perfect just representation of. I think sometimes we can get so caught up in like the goals, like, oh, I want to provide this better world, I want to free these people, I want to get this more equality, this and that. But it's like the whole point of all these goals is to have a better world for you to spend with the one you love, with the ones you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, of course, that's going to be your partner, your kids, your friends, your close group. It's like you
Yeah.
want to create this better world for that, and this kind of just ends all this with her maybe moving closer to having that in this new world.
And that is the one thing that her coach, mentor, leader, Kelsier had right.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
He said, isn't it better?
to just smile.
live this
Yeah,
way.
and be like,
Isn't it
I'd
true?
rather
Some
trust
people
them.
live this
Like, maybe
way.
I will be betrayed, but I don't want to live the other way.
Exactly.
I'd rather trust
It
them.
sucks, man. I'd rather be betrayed while loving somebody than never be betrayed while questioning everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I
Being
mean?
alone. Yeah.
All right. I think that sums it up. We got Mistborn Book 1. We're going on to Mistborn Book 2. In the meantime, halfway points, we'll be releasing some Wheel of Time for those of you who can keep up with that as well. That'll be kind of our fun little side projects. We've already
Nice little
recorded
14
one.
book series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
only
Just
for
gonna
now.
chipping away
Side
at Wheel of
project.
Time.
side project.
Wheel of Time is a big one because obviously it is not Cosmere, but it is Sanderson's kind of eclipse to
Yeah.
I should say like
Slingshot to
Slingshot
popularity,
to
into
popularity,
the
yeah, much better.
fantasy
Yeah.
genre.
Slingshot, but anyway, Wheel of Time. Robert Jordan is another big one that we're doing, so pay attention. Amazon's got a show coming out next year. We want to be ahead of it this time. We don't want to be releasing the book episodes during
Post.
the show.
Yeah,
We'd
hopefully we can have the whole book and then do the whole show. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's exactly the plan. We've got book 1 done.
And I will probably be the
show guy.
the show guy that offers like I didn't know that about the book. Idiots.
See next week's episode.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mistborn, and back to the Sanderson Cosmere.
That ended perfectly because I got me.
And perfect time, too. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.